Have you ever encountered a reaction so intense, so disproportionate, that it left you puzzled and perhaps even scared? Could it be a case of narcissistic rage? This might sound like a plotline from a psychological thriller, but it's a real phenomenon that happens when a narcissist's inflated self-esteem or self-worth is threatened. Imagine walking on eggshells around a person, afraid to say or do anything that might puncture their inflated ego. That's what it's like dealing with a narcissist. When something or someone threatens their self-image, they often react with what's known as narcissistic rage. This explosive reaction is far beyond a typical temper tantrum. It's a defensive mechanism triggered by what psychologists call a narcissistic injury. A narcissistic injury is essentially a blow to the narcissist's grandiose sense of self. It could be anything from a minor criticism to a major challenge to their authority. But regardless of the scale, the narcissist perceives it as a direct attack on their self-esteem, leading to an outburst of anger, hostility, and even manipulation. Understanding this concept of narcissistic rage is a crucial step towards recognizing and dealing with narcissistic behavior in relationships, be it personal or professional. To understand narcissistic rage, we first need to delve deeper into the psyche of a narcissist. What makes a narcissist tick? Why do they react so violently to perceived slights? The narcissist's psyche is a complex puzzle, a labyrinth of grandiose self-perceptions and fragile self-worth. At the heart of this maze lies an inflated sense of importance. This is not your run-of-the-mill confidence, it is an extreme, all-consuming belief in one's own superiority. Narcissists view themselves as the shining sun in a universe revolving around them. They believe they are entitled to special treatment and adulation. This self-perception goes beyond just a high self-esteem. It's about dominion, entitlement, and the relentless pursuit of admiration. However, this grandiose self-concept is a castle built on sand. It's fragile, easily shattered by the slightest gust of criticism or perceived disrespect. When this happens, the narcissist experiences what psychologists term as narcissistic injury. Narcissistic injury is not a physical wound but a deep psychological bruise. It's the sharp sting of humiliation, the raw burn of inadequacy felt when their self-image is threatened. The narcissist's ego, once basking in the warm glow of self-admiration, suddenly finds itself in a cold, dark shadow. And what follows this injury? A defensive mechanism, a survival instinct kicking into high gear. The narcissist reacts often with disproportionate anger, manipulation, and victim playing. This reaction is not just about protecting their ego, but restoring their sense of superiority. It's about regaining control, re-establishing dominance, and recasting themselves as the misunderstood hero or the wronged party. This defensive reaction is what we know as narcissistic rage. Narcissistic rage is not a simple tantrum or a display of anger. It's a tempest, an intense storm of emotion that erupts when the narcissist's sense of self is threatened. It's their way of fighting back against the perceived injury, a desperate attempt to mend the cracks in their self-image. The intensity of a narcissist's rage is directly proportional to the level of their perceived injury. Narcissistic rage is not just anger, it's an intense and disproportionate reaction that can take various forms. When we talk about narcissistic rage, we're referring to an explosive reaction to a perceived slight, real or imagined. This is not your typical anger outburst. It's a torrent of emotion that can come in various shapes and sizes, depending on the narcissist's preferred method of expression. One common form of narcissistic rage is verbal attacks. In these instances, the narcissist uses words as weapons, lashing out with harsh comments and insults designed to belittle and demean. They aim to regain control and re-establish their superiority by bringing others down. But narcissistic rage can also be more subtle, manifesting as emotional manipulation. Here, the narcissist might employ guilt-tripping, playing the victim, or using other forms of psychological manipulation to make others feel responsible for their rage. They might also use these tactics to deflect blame and avoid taking responsibility for their actions. In extreme cases, narcissistic rage might even escalate to physical violence. When their sense of superiority is threatened, some narcissists might resort to physical aggression as a means of asserting their dominance. Now let's touch on a particularly insidious tactic often used by narcissists: gaslighting. This is a form of manipulation where the narcissist makes someone question their own reality. They might deny things that have happened, twist the truth, or make outrageous claims, all in an attempt to sow seeds of doubt and confusion. The aim is to gain power and control, often leaving the victim feeling disoriented and unsure of their own perceptions and memories. Narcissistic rage is a destructive force, both for the narcissist and those caught in their crossfire. It's crucial to recognize these manifestations not just to understand the narcissist's behavior, but also to protect oneself and seek appropriate help when dealing with such volatile and potentially damaging situations. So how do you deal with narcissistic rage? Is there a way to diffuse the situation? Yes, there are some strategies to navigate through such turbulent moments. One of the most effective ways is setting clear boundaries. This could be emotional, physical, or even digital boundaries. It's about taking control of your space and ensuring it's not invaded by the narcissist's rage. However, it's crucial to understand that in the throes of narcissistic rage, reasoning with a narcissist can be like pouring gasoline on a flame. Their inability to accept responsibility for their actions, coupled with their intense defense mechanisms, often makes dialogue futile and potentially more harmful. Sometimes, the best course of action is to remove yourself from the situation entirely if you can. This isn't about admitting defeat, but prioritizing your well-being and safety. If you're in a situation where you're regularly exposed to narcissistic rage, seeking professional help can be truly beneficial. Therapists or counselors can provide you with tools and strategies to protect your mental health and navigate these complex interactions. Remember, your safety and well-being are paramount. Don't hesitate to seek help if you find yourself dealing with narcissistic rage. Narcissistic rage can be a terrifying experience, but understanding its roots can help mitigate its impact. This deep-seated anger stems from what we call a narcissistic injury, a perceived threat to the narcissist's inflated self-image. When this self-image is challenged, the narcissist feels humiliated, inadequate, and resorts to defensive mechanisms such as rage, manipulation, and playing the victim. Throughout this discussion, we've unraveled the intricate web that is the narcissist's psyche. We've explored how their inflated sense of superiority manifests as narcissistic rage, a desperate attempt to regain control and maintain their self-perceived dominance. It's essential to remember that while these behaviors can be harmful and destructive, they are ultimately the narcissist's way of coping with their own inadequacies. In the face of criticism, they may resort to gaslighting, devaluation, and opposition, all in an attempt to protect their fragile self-image. But with understanding comes empowerment. Recognizing these patterns, these manifestations of narcissistic rage, can help you better navigate interactions with narcissistic individuals, ensuring your own emotional well-being. Knowledge is power. By understanding narcissistic rage, you're better equipped to protect yourself and navigate interactions with narcissistic individuals.